In this video I am going to run a PostgreSQL container inside Docker. Then I am going to load a DB that I have downloaded from the internet, and finally I will show how to connect to the database using a SQL client. The first step is going to be to run Postgres inside Docker. To do that, I'm going to use the docker run command, and I'm going to need a name for the container. I'm going to need an environmental variable for the username, and one for the password. Then I'm going to need a port mapping, so which the external one is going to be 5432 and the internal one is going to be the same. I need a volume where the data is going to be held. And is going to be in lib, then in data, so I'm going to keep the data there, and I want so it has to run in the touch mode, and this is the image from Docker Hub. That's how it's called. Because the image doesn't exist locally, it's going to download it. Let's make this a bit bigger. So it takes just a few seconds to download. And now what we're going to do is we're going to connect, we're going to go inside this container. So we're going to do docker exec and now we can use we're going to use the name of the container, and we are going to use the psql command to connect to the database so that we can run SQL commands inside it. U for username, which is going to be username, and now we are going to need a W, which is the workspace or the workplace, I would say, and by default it's called Postgres. So this is going to prompt us to add our password, which is password, and now we are inside Postgres. In here we can now create a database. So I'm going to create a database. I'm going to create a database. I'm going to call it dvdrental because it's what the database I downloaded from the internet is about. So it tells me that it already exists because I'm using a volume that I had already, but just to show that that command would work, I can drop it, and then I can create it again. So we now have a database called dvdrental, and now we want to load data into this database. So I downloaded this from the internet, and here is the dvdrental database. The tables, it's just the tables. So inside here I extracted this tar file, and inside there we're going to pass it into the container, and we're going to copy it into the container, and then we're going to execute it, and it's going to add all the tables for us. So let's see how to do that. So we need to exit the container for a moment because we cannot take it from inside the container. We need to be outside to put it in. So I'm outside, I'm going to use the cp command to cp this file inside the container. So the file lives here. And it's going inside the container and in the home directory. So we can just leave it there, just like this. So this is going to copy that file now inside the container. So now we can go back into the container to run the file, but instead of using now PSQL, we're going to use another utility which is called pgrestore. So how this works is like this: docker exec -it. Again, we're going to need the container name, and we use pgrestore with the username, and in the touch mode we need to say what is the name of the database in which we are going to restore this data, and it's called dvdrental because we just created it, and the file that we're going to use to restore it, which is dvdrental.tar. So this is going to run all the data that is in the, is going to attempt to restore, because this is downloaded from the internet. Some of the data is not, is maybe not there, or there might be some missing entries, but this is because just this is for illustrative purposes. Now I'm going to go into the database to check, to see what we have in there. So I go into my SQL client, in this case is dbeaver. I click on connect, I choose Postgres, I click on next, and now I need to give it a name to the database, or I need to provide the name of the database, dvdrental, and the port is correct. The username needs to be username, and the password is password. I'm going to test the connection. The connection is successful. I'm going to click on finish. So now I'm connected, and if I look into the schemas and the tables, we can see that we have a lot of tables in here, and some of them seem to have data. So I'm going to try to query some of this data. So let's say select a star from I don't know, film, and let's see what happens. So here we can see that the database have restored some data. So this is how we can very quickly and easy create a database inside Docker without risking breaking something in our local machine. We have everything running in a container. If something goes wrong with the container, we can just delete it and create it again. And it's a very easy way to have a local machine with the database for the purposes of development.